I finally got out. I escaped my abusive ex, the same man who blamed me for losing our baby and left me completely shattered. And now? Now my best friend is dating him and telling me I should just move on. I've sat down to write this more times than I can count, but every time, I fall apart before I can finish. So I'm going to try again, calmly this time, and just lay it all out. It's not going to be neat or easy to read. I'm still trying to wrap my head around all of it. For a bit of background, I'm 39 now. I was with my ex, Logan, from 25 to 31. I lost the baby in our 6th year together, right before I turned 32. That was almost 8 years ago. We met back in college. At first, he was everything I thought I wanted: charming, thoughtful, attentive. He'd surprise me at work with coffee, compliment me in front of my friends, always saying how lucky he was to have me. After growing up with parents who were emotionally checked out, it felt like real love for the first time in my life. At least, that's what I thought. But looking back now, I see it for what it really was: manipulation. Control. Little by little, the sweet words turned sharp. If I didn't respond to a text right away, he accused me of cheating. If I dressed up to go somewhere, I must have been looking for attention from other guys. Eventually, I gave up on wearing makeup. I stopped going out unless he came with me. I let friendships wither away because he made life miserable any time I talked to another man. That was how it all began, the mental and emotional control. And it only got worse from there. During senior year, the abuse became physical. But it didn't happen in some big dramatic moment. It started small. He'd shoulder past me roughly, shove me aside like I wasn't even there. Then came the bruising grip on my arm during fights. Then came the slaps, the punches, and always, without fail, came the apologies afterward. The I love yous, sometimes even tears. It really messed with my head. I started thinking it was my fault, that I was the one who pushed him too far, that I just wasn't trying hard enough to make him happy. I kept telling myself that if I could be better, if I could just go back to who I was when he fell for me, then maybe things would return to the way they were in the beginning. I got pregnant in our 6th year together. I was terrified. Something in me just knew it wasn't going to be safe, but at the same time, I held on to this naive hope that maybe fatherhood would soften him. Maybe a baby would change things. Instead, it only escalated the abuse. He blamed me for everything I went through during pregnancy. Morning sickness? I was being dramatic. If I cried, he said I was unstable. If I needed to lie down because I was so tired I could barely stand, he'd call me lazy. He even accused me of getting pregnant on purpose, trying to trap him. One night, things hit a new low. He saw messages on my phone from Rachel, my best friend since middle school. She was just checking in, asking if I needed anything. And he lost it. Accused me of turning people against him. But I hadn't. Not completely, anyway. I had vented here and there, yeah. But even with her, I had never admitted the full truth. I was still too ashamed. That night, he ripped the phone from my hands, smashed it against the floor, and shoved me hard. I slammed into the kitchen counter and felt this awful, deep pain in my stomach. A cramp that didn't go away. I was 22 weeks pregnant. The next day, I miscarried. Alone. He didn't take me to the hospital. I had to drive myself. When I told him what happened, he barely reacted. He shrugged and told me it was probably my fault. That maybe I didn't care enough about the baby, and God took it away. I've never forgotten those words. They still cut like a knife. After that, I felt completely hollow. And that's when it finally hit me: if I didn't get out, I was going to end up dead. So I started planning my escape. I began hiding my tip money inside a tampon box. He never looked there. I was working nights and weekends at a restaurant, and slowly I built up what I could. I applied to shelters out of town. I started sneaking my important documents over to a friend's house without him knowing. I bought a burner phone and left my real one at home the night I ran, so he couldn't track me. I waited until he was at work, threw a few things into a single bag, and disappeared. Rachel was the first person I reached out to. She didn't know the full story before. Not really. But I laid it all out. She was crushed. She cried with me. She helped me find a therapist. She checked in with me every single day. She even helped me get a protective order filed. For years, she was my rock. When she moved to London for a new job, we still stayed close. I went to visit her once. She came to see me twice. I trusted her more than anyone. So when she came to stay with me last month, just for a few days, I had no reason to think anything was off. We caught up like always, movies, wine, late night laughs. But on the third night, she got a little tipsy and went quiet. I could tell something was weighing on her. And then she said it. She told me she'd been seeing someone for almost a year. Someone I knew. She tried to ease into it, but then she just said it outright, Logan. My abusive ex. I swear, I thought I was having a stroke. My body went cold. I froze. I couldn't even take in the rest of her words because I was trying not to hyperventilate. She kept going, though. Said she ran into him by chance when she came home to visit. Said he seemed different. That he was going to church now. That he apologized. That he claimed he found God. And apparently, she believed him. Not only did she believe him, she fell for him. She told me she didn't tell me sooner because she wasn't sure if it would last. And because she didn't want to hurt me unnecessarily. But now they're serious. She thinks he's her soulmate. I told her to leave. Right then and there. I didn't scream or throw a fit. I just asked her to go. Since then, she's sent a few texts. Telling me I'm being dramatic. Saying I'm stuck in the past. That he's changed. That he wants to make things right. That I should be happy for her. That she found love. I told her if she truly believed he'd changed, then she could live that fantasy far away from me. And then it got worse. My family found out. Some of them still talk to me, even though we've been distant for years. They're very religious. And now they're backing Rachel. Telling me people can change. Telling me I need to forgive. That it's been years. And I feel like I'm losing my mind. Like everything just flipped upside down. Rachel, she was the one who held me when I was shaking and terrified. She was the one who helped me reclaim my voice. And now she's sleeping beside the man who broke me. Who stole my child. Who made me believe I wasn't worth loving. How do you even begin to recover from something like that? I don't know if I'm looking for advice, or if I just need someone to validate that I'm not insane. Maybe both. All I know is that I don't feel safe anymore. Not in my own body. Not in my own world. Everyone keeps saying I should move on. But how am I supposed to move forward when the people I trusted the most are now standing shoulder to shoulder with the person who nearly destroyed me? So yeah, Reddit. Am I the one in the wrong for cutting her off? For not being able to forgive? Am I just being overly emotional? I need to know, does anyone else see how wrong this all is? Or am I really the only one still holding on to pain I should have let go of by now? Update 1. Hey again. First off, thank you. Truly. I didn't expect that kind of outpouring of support after my original post. I read every single comment. Even the ones that gave me a hard time for staying in that relationship for as long as I did. Some of you said things that struck me in ways I didn't expect, stuff I hadn't even realized I was still carrying around. I've been in therapy for years now, but there's something different about hearing validation from complete strangers, especially when there's no hidden motive behind it. So thank you for that. Really. I wish I could say that things calmed down after I kicked Rachel out of my house. I wish that was the end of the mess. But honestly, it felt like my silence just gave her the green light to go full speed ahead. She didn't back off. She got louder. Rachel started putting up vague, pointed posts on Instagram. Nothing with my name on it, of course. But the subtext was loud and clear. Things like, when you're truly healing, you stop blaming others. And only bitter hearts get stuck in the past. It was like watching someone take my trauma and twist it into some twisted little narrative to make herself look wise and evolved. Then came the photo. Black and white. Tasteful. Just her holding some guy's hand. No face in the frame. But I knew that hand immediately. There was a scar on the thumb from that time Logan smashed a beer bottle at a party. And the shape of his fingers? I used to memorize those on nights I was too scared to sleep. The comments were full of love and congratulations. You deserve this. So happy for you. God always has a plan. It felt like someone had reached into my chest and yanked out my stitches. That same day, she posted a group photo. There she was. With Logan. And his whole family. The same people who looked me in the eye years ago and called me a liar. The same ones who emailed my parents, accusing me of cheating. The same people who went on Facebook and said, some women cry abuse when they can't face consequences. Now they're grinning beside Rachel like I never existed. Like none of it ever happened. I didn't even have the strength to be angry. I just sat there. staring at the screen. Frozen. It wasn't even rage, it was this numb, sinking feeling. Like I was watching someone dig up my grave and redecorate it to fit their version of the story. And then it got worse. Out of nowhere, a college friend messaged me. We hadn't talked in years. She said she saw Rachel last year back in our college town. Ran into her at a bookstore, of all places. Rachel had casually mentioned she was seeing someone from her past. It didn't click at the time. But now my friend realized she'd been talking about Logan. So this thing between them didn't just pop up. It wasn't random. Rachel had been involved with him, at least emotionally, for over a year. While texting me, while video chatting with me, saying how much she missed me, while asking me how I finally managed to feel safe again. I sent her a message after that. Nothing confrontational. Just asked why she kept it a secret for so long. Her reply? You're too obsessed with the past. That's why you're still stuck. Maybe if you had forgiven him sooner, this wouldn't hurt so much. You need to move on. I stared at that message for a solid 10 minutes without blinking. It felt like the air was ripped out of my lungs. I couldn't breathe. Her words felt poisonous, like she was saying this was my fault. Like my pain was punishment for not being more spiritually evolved. I showed the message to my therapist. She didn't say much, just looked at me and said, "This isn't about healing. This is about control." And I really thought that'd be the end of it. But I was wrong again. 7 days ago, my therapist's office contacted me. She messaged me personally, not with full details, just a heads up. Someone had called, pretending to be my sister. They asked the front desk for resources for a woman struggling with trauma, pregnancy loss, and obsessive jealousy. Luckily, the receptionist sensed something wasn't right and flagged it. My therapist went through the call logs. She didn't name names, but from what she said, it was obvious. She suspects it was Rachel. Let that sink in. My best friend, the one who held me while I cried, the one who saw firsthand what I went through, pretended to be a family member just to get access to my mental health records. Why? To use it against me? To prepare a defense in case I speak out? I don't know. But ever since that call, I haven't felt safe. I'm double-checking the locks before bed. I don't open the blinds during the day. I sleep with a noise machine now to drown out every creak and tap that used to keep me wide awake at 5 a.m. And the worst part? It all feels familiar. Like I've somehow slipped back in time. Like I'm reliving the part of my life I fought so hard to leave behind. I've even brought up the idea of moving again with my therapist. It breaks my heart to even consider it. I worked so hard to build a new life here. I chose the city because I thought it was far enough from my past to keep me safe. But I was wrong. Rachel and Logan don't have to be in the same place to mess with my world. They're doing it from miles away. And it's working. Some of my relatives, the few who still talk to me, are starting to shift their tone. My aunt called the other night and asked, "Why can't you just be happy for Rachel?" She said, "Maybe Logan really did change. Who are we to stand in the way of love?" I didn't say a word. I just hung up. Everyone keeps accusing me of clinging to hate, of being bitter. But that's not what this is. I'm holding on to the truth. I need to remind myself that I didn't imagine what happened. That I didn't make it up. That I didn't deserve any of it. But Rachel? She's rewriting the whole story. Turning herself into the heroine who found love where others only saw scars. And Logan? He's standing behind her, letting her do all the talking. Letting her clean up his image. I've written so many messages to her. Pages of raw emotion. Anger, grief, desperate questions. But I never hit send, because deep down I know none of it will give me peace. No apology will undo this. There's no version of this story where I get closure. But what I can do, what I will do, is protect myself. I'll share more if anything else happens. Update 2. Hi again. I really wish I had good news to share. I wish I could say things were getting better. That I was finding peace. Or at the very least, some space to breathe. But instead, I feel like I'm drowning in this slow-motion nightmare. Like every new week brings some twist I never saw coming. 3 days ago, I got home from work and found a letter in my mailbox. No return address. Just my name. For a split second, I let myself hope it might be something kind. A card, maybe. Something gentle. But the second I touched it, I got this weird feeling in my gut. The paper felt cold. Stiff. Almost clinical. I don't know why that struck me, but it did. When I opened it, my heart sank. It was from Logan. 10 pages. Typed, not handwritten. Because God forbid he say anything from the heart. That man has never owned up to anything in a way that feels remotely human. The letter read like a sermon. Like a performance. He opened with a Bible quote, something about forgiveness and redemption. And something about how God makes all things new. I couldn't even get through the whole letter at first. I skimmed the opening lines, hoping, foolishly, that maybe somewhere in there he'd finally own up to what he did. I jumped ahead, looking for even a single sentence where he acknowledged the truth. That he pushed me. That he wrecked me. That he left me alone in a hospital bed after I lost our baby. But there was nothing. Just vague, sanitized garbage. Lines like, I wasn't in a good place at the time. Or, we were both hurting. As if I ever laid a finger on him. As if I ever tried to control what he wore or who he spent time with. As if I ever did anything but try to survive. He didn't say he was sorry for what he did. He said he was sorry I experienced pain. Not that he caused it, just that I went through it, like it was some freak accident or act of God instead of something he put me through with his own hands. Then I got to the end of the letter, and that's when I saw it. Tucked behind the last page was something that made my whole body freeze. I stared at it for so long my vision started to blur. It was revolting. Rachel is pregnant. There was a sticky note attached to the page with a message in his handwriting. It said, "This child is our second chance. I hope you can forgive us and share in our joy." I must have read that line 15 times. Our second chance. Like the child I lost was just a false start. Like their baby now is some kind of cosmic do-over. Like I was the mistake that had to be erased to make room for this miracle. I fell to the floor right there in my hallway. It felt like the air was pulled out of my lungs and I couldn't get it back. I've never told anyone this before, not even Rachel, but that pregnancy, the one I lost, it wasn't just a thing that happened. It was real to me. That baby was mine. I had felt them kick. I used to talk to them late at night while Logan was asleep, whispering stories and promises about how I'd protect them from all the terrible things in the world. I had picked out a name. I even found this little blue elephant onesie at a thrift store. It was the only baby item I owned. I hid it in the back of a drawer because I knew if Logan ever saw it, he'd laugh at me. Or worse, throw it away. I carried that child for nearly 7 months. And when I lost them, I didn't just lose a pregnancy. I lost the last version of myself that still believed in hope. And now Rachel, my best friend, the one I thought understood, she's carrying Logan's baby. And instead of acknowledging the cruelty of what they've done, they're treating this like it's some inspirational comeback story. Like they've overcome hardship. Like they're the heroes. What makes it even worse is that Rachel never knew the full story of what happened that night. I downplayed it. I told her it was early on. I said it happened during a fight. I never gave her the real details. She never knew that I had named the baby. That I kept the hospital bracelet. That I still have the discharge papers folded up in a box I've never been able to open. She didn't know. And yet, she's still using that moment, my deepest wound, as part of their healing journey. They're building their future on the grave of a child I lost, because of him. After I read that letter, I couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. I just sat there, feeling that old horror crawl back through my skin. The kind I thought I buried years ago. The shove. The cramping pain. The hospital lights. The doctor's face when he said it was over. Then my phone rang. It was my mom. For a fleeting second, I thought maybe she knew. Maybe she had heard about the letter. Maybe, finally, she was going to check in on me. Maybe she'd say she was sorry for ever siding with Rachel. But that wasn't it. She called to say she saw Rachel's new post. Another soft-filtered photo, her hands cradling a growing belly. The caption talked about grace and divine miracles. And then my mom said, "It's time to stop being bitter. God clearly had a plan. You should be happy for them." I don't even remember what I said. I think I just hung up before she could finish. After that, I sat on the couch for hours, staring at nothing. My fingers wandered to the small scar on my stomach, the one from that night. I've never shown it to anyone. It's tiny, but it's mine. A reminder that something happened. That I'm not crazy. That it mattered. Since then, the nightmares have come back. Ones I haven't had in years. I wake up soaked in sweat, heart racing, convinced I heard his voice outside or saw a shadow on the porch. I check the locks again and again. I leave a hallway light on at night, just like I did when I first left him and stayed at the shelter. And now I keep picturing them showing up at my front door. Rachel with the baby in her arms. Logan behind her, smiling, saying, "The past is the past. We're family now. You should come to the baby shower." I know it sounds irrational, but if you've ever lived through trauma like this, you get it. It's not paranoia, it's your body remembering what your brain is trying to forget. It's your nervous system doing its best to protect you. I'm not upset because they're together. I'm devastated because they're trying to rewrite history, to erase the truth of what happened to me. Rachel gets to be the enlightened woman who found love through forgiveness. Logan gets to be the man who turned his life around. And I'm left playing the role of the bitter ex, the one who couldn't move on. I've started researching therapy retreats out of state. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere off the grid. I don't know if I'll actually go. But looking at options, even that tiny step, it gives me hope. I need to believe there's still a version of my life out there where I'm not constantly looking over my shoulder. I know I'm not okay, but I'm still here. I'm still standing. And for now, that has to be enough. Update 3. I don't even know where to begin with this update. Part of me wishes I didn't have to write it at all. But if I don't, it feels like I'm letting things keep spiraling. And I'll never find the closure I've been desperately chasing. A lot has happened this past week. More than I expected. Let's start with the therapy retreat. I actually went. I packed a bag, left my apartment, and headed to a remote retreat center 4 states away. It's deep in the woods, like something out of a movie. The kind of place where people go to put the pieces of their lives back together. I spent 9 days there. Just me, my thoughts, and a group of strangers who were all carrying their own heavy stuff. It was supposed to help me heal. And in a lot of ways, it did. I had a breakthrough or two. I even started journaling again, for the first time in years. But here's what surprised me. The retreat didn't fix me like I thought it might. I went in hoping that a little space and some quiet might be enough to wipe away all the anger and grief and pain. But instead, what I got was clarity. After group discussions and some intense one-on-one sessions with the therapists, I realized something really important. It hit me while I was sitting in one of the last group sessions at the retreat. It wasn't just about Logan anymore. And it wasn't really about Rachel either. The heart of all this was me. Me not owning my voice. For years, I'd been trying to convince everyone that I wasn't crazy. That my pain was real. That my anger had a reason. I spent so much time trying to prove I was justified that I stopped actually listening to myself. In the process, I let their version of events drown out mine. I gave their stories more volume than my own truth. And I've been doing that for longer than I want to admit. All this time, I kept trying to make people see my wounds, believe my hurt. But really, the only person who ever needed to understand it was me. So when I came back, I wasn't fixed. I wasn't magically healed. But I did feel different. A little more grounded. A little more in touch with who I really was. But the second I stepped off the plane, things got messy again. My phone was flooded with messages. Not from friends. Not from my family either. They were from Logan. A new number. New tactics. He'd called. Texted. "Please answer. We need to talk. I've been thinking about you." I didn't open the texts. I didn't need to. But then came the voicemail. The moment I heard his voice, something felt off. There was a hesitation in his tone I'd never heard before. He sounded unsure, maybe even nervous. He apologized again. Said stuff like, "I know I messed up. I want to make it right." But then he mentioned Rachel's pregnancy. And that's when something shifted in me. I can't even recall the exact words he used, but there was something in the way he said it. Like he was confessing something. Like there was more behind it than he was letting on. And in that moment, it became crystal clear. Whatever they were doing now, it wasn't just about finding peace or moving on. They were trying to erase me from the picture entirely. I didn't respond. I just sat there in silence, unsure of what to do next. But by the next morning, I knew what had to happen. I needed to confront her. One last time. So I called Rachel. I know, trust me, I know how that sounds. But I had to hear it. I needed to know if the woman I once trusted more than anyone was really just going to pretend like none of it happened. When she picked up, there was this thick silence on the other end. She didn't even say hello right away. We both knew what was coming. I said, "Rachel, we need to talk. About Logan. About everything." She didn't respond for a long time. When she finally did, her voice was quiet, heavy, like the weight of everything had finally caught up to her. "I don't think we can go back to the way things were," she said. "It's not the same. I can't pretend it is." And for a second, I thought that was it. An admission. Like she finally saw what I'd been carrying. But there was something else in her voice too, something sad. I couldn't tell if it was regret or just her trying to avoid the truth a little longer. We ended up talking for hours. I won't get into every detail, but what she told me shook me. She admitted that she'd been struggling with guilt. With what she did to me. She confessed she'd known, deep down, that something was off about Logan. She said she felt it. But when she found out she was pregnant, she convinced herself that maybe this time, things would be different. That this baby would somehow fix it all. She kept repeating that she never meant to hurt me. But every time those words came out, it felt like she was apologizing for something smaller. Like she still didn't get it. Like she was sorry I got hurt, not that she and Logan had hurt me. It wasn't about her feelings. It was about the mess they created. The story they rewrote so they could live with themselves. I didn't need her to say sorry. I didn't need her to explain away her choices. What I needed, what I was finally ready to hear was the truth, that she chose this life. That she chose him. She chose the man who destroyed me. She chose the narrative he sold her. And now she has to live with that. Just like I've had to live with what he did to me. I didn't yell. I didn't break down. I didn't even raise my voice. I just said, "I'm done, Rachel. I'm done trying to fix this. And I'm done feeling sorry for you." It wasn't cruel, but it was final. I was no longer going to be anyone's safety net. I wasn't going to let her use my story as the foundation for her forgiveness tour. After that, things got really quiet. I haven't spoken to Logan since that voicemail. And my family? Radio silence. My mom hasn't reached out since I left for the retreat. And I haven't reached out either. I think we both know what that silence really means. I can't say I've fully moved on. I'm still healing, still figuring things out. But this, drawing the line, choosing myself, has been the hardest, most freeing thing I've ever done. And even though I'm still sorting through the wreckage, I know now that I won't be stuck here forever. I made it out. I got away from him. And that's worth something. Final update. I promised I'd come back and tell you how things turned out. And I'm keeping that promise. Honestly, a part of me thought about disappearing after the last update. Letting it all go quiet. Starting over without anyone knowing how it all ended. But this community has meant something to me more than I expected. So here it is. First, the aftermath of that last conversation with Rachel. It felt like slamming a door. Hard. Not just closing it, shutting it with a force I didn't know I had. After that call, things started to shift. I wouldn't say I felt happy or relieved exactly, but I did feel something close to peace. I didn't expect closure. I honestly didn't think I'd ever get it. But somewhere deep inside, something shifted. I stopped chasing validation. I stopped waiting for apologies or admissions. I realized I didn't need them to believe me anymore. I already knew the truth. That didn't stop the emotional mess that followed, though. My family didn't take it well when they found out I cut off Rachel completely. They didn't understand why I still wanted nothing to do with Logan. They couldn't wrap their heads around it. To them, forgiveness was the natural next step. The only acceptable next step. They expected me to just move on. To forget. To forgive and restore everything to how it was before. But I wasn't going back. Not this time. That's when things finally came to a head with my parents. I think some of you saw this coming. My mom, especially, didn't take my decision well. She called it petty. She said I was overreacting. In her eyes, Logan and Rachel were family now. And I was the one disrupting the harmony. She kept texting me, calling me, saying she was worried about me. "You're isolating yourself," she said. "You need to talk to them. You're pushing your family away." That's what my mom said, over and over again. At first, I ignored her messages. I skipped the family events. I didn't budge. But when she realized I wasn't backing down, she went nuclear. I didn't expect it to escalate, but it did. She started laying on the guilt thick, saying things like, "You're tearing this family apart, and one day, you're going to regret all of this." It honestly felt like she had completely forgotten who I was in all this. She was so wrapped up in defending Rachel and Logan that she couldn't even hear me anymore. So I had to make a decision. I chose the harder path. I invited her out to meet me for coffee, same little cafe we used to go to when we needed to talk, catch up, reconnect. A part of me hoped we might find that old mother-daughter connection just once more. But more than anything, I knew this conversation needed to happen face-to-face. When we sat down, I didn't bother with chit-chat. I didn't pretend everything was normal. I got right to it. I told her I wasn't coming back. That I was done pretending everything was fine. I explained, clearly, that I couldn't just sweep all this under the rug like it never happened. I told her I had spent most of my life trying to fit into whatever image she had of me, but I wasn't that version of myself anymore. I said I wasn't going to play along anymore. Not for her. Not for Rachel. And definitely not for Logan. I laid it all out, how she had made excuses for them over and over again, how she supported their choices even when they hurt me, and how, in the end, she chose them over her own daughter. I told her I couldn't keep doing this. Not anymore. Her face was a mix of disbelief and pain. She tried to argue, tried to pull me back into her version of what family was supposed to look like. But I didn't waver. I didn't cry. That alone felt like a win. The silence after I finished talking was heavy, almost unbearable. But I stood in it. I owned it. She tried one more time to guilt me into compliance. But this time, I didn't flinch. I told her, calmly but firmly, that if she couldn't respect my decision, we'd need to take a break. I wasn't going to keep putting myself through the pain of being constantly dismissed, of having my boundaries ignored by people who claimed to love me. She didn't understand, not fully, not right away. But after a long pause, she nodded. She agreed to give me space. Walking out of that coffee shop was one of the hardest things I've ever done. It felt like closing the door on the last piece of the life I used to know. But at the same time, I felt lighter. Like I'd finally put something heavy down after carrying it for years. As for Logan and Rachel, I haven't heard a word since that last voicemail. I don't know if they're still together. Honestly, I don't care. That's not my life. That's not my weight to carry anymore. And my mom? She hasn't reached out either. Maybe she's still thinking it over. Maybe she's waiting for me to come crawling back. But the truth is, I'm not going back. I'm free. I'm not wrapped up in their chaos anymore. I don't owe any of them anything. To everyone who supported me, thank you. Truly. You'll never fully understand what it meant to have people believe me, support me, hold space for me, even when I felt like I was shouting into a void. This community gave me the strength to keep going, to keep choosing myself. And I'll never forget that. I know this isn't a story with a perfect ending. There's no magical resolution, no tearful reunion, no big bow tied around the pain. But what I have now is a new beginning. A fresh start. And this time, I'm the one writing it. So that's it. I've walked away from the chaos. I've chosen myself. I've let go of the guilt, the shame, the need to be understood by people who were never really listening. And maybe, just maybe, I've finally found the peace I've been chasing all along. Take care, everyone.